My in-laws called me cruel for refusing to donate my kidney to their son. The doctors said I was a perfect match for Nathan. His kidneys were failing, and without a transplant, he had maybe 18 months left. My mother-in-law Barbara grabbed my hands in the hospital waiting room and said we could schedule the surgery as soon as possible. I needed time to think. She pulled her hands back and her face went cold. What's there to think about? He's your husband. I told her I had Zoe to consider. My 6-year-old daughter from my previous marriage. Barbara said Zoe would be fine and that I was being selfish. Nathan's father Richard added that any decent wife would do this without hesitation. Real mothers make sacrifices, he said. Or are you not a real wife? That's when I knew this was going to get ugly. The pressure started immediately. Barbara showed up at my house every morning before I took Zoe to school. She'd sit at my kitchen table crying about how I was killing her son. She brought photos of Nathan as a baby and said, "This is the boy you're letting die." When that didn't work, she started bringing other family members. Nathan's sister called me a murderer. His aunt said I never deserved him. His cousin posted on social media that I was refusing to save my husband's life because I was vain about a scar. The comments flooded in calling me evil and heartless. People from my own church started avoiding me. My boss pulled me aside and said the drama was affecting my work. Barbara convinced our landlord we were bad tenants and we got an eviction notice. She called my workplace pretending to be a concerned friend and told them I was mentally unstable. She showed up at Zoe's school and told the principal I was an unfit mother. She wanted to make my life so miserable I'd give in. What none of them knew was that Nathan had been cheating on me for 8 months. I found out 2 weeks before his diagnosis when I came home early and found receipts in his jacket pocket. Hotel rooms, jewelry I'd never seen, romantic dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together. When I confronted him, he laughed. "What did you expect? You're not exactly exciting anymore since you had that kid." He told me Zoe wasn't his responsibility and he never wanted to be a stepdad anyway. He said if I left him, I'd get nothing in the divorce because his parents would bury me in legal fees. Then I found out he'd been taking money from Zoe's college fund to pay for everything. $3,000 I'd been saving since she was born. Gone. Spent on some woman he met at a bar. Then his kidneys started failing and suddenly I was his only hope. He acted like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just told me my daughter was a burden and he wished he'd never married me. I came home one afternoon and found Nathan yelling at Zoe for spilling juice on the couch. He grabbed her arm so hard it left marks and screamed, "You're just like your worthless mother. Everything you touch turns to garbage." She was sobbing and I saw pure hatred in his eyes. Not frustration, hatred. For my 6-year-old daughter who had done nothing but try to love him, that's when I knew I couldn't do it. The doctors had explained the risks. 5% chance of death during surgery, 20% chance of serious complications, 30% chance of developing kidney disease myself later in life. If something went wrong, Zoe would have nobody. Her biological father died in a car accident when she was 2. My parents lived overseas and couldn't take her. Nathan's family would never take her. She'd end up in foster care. I couldn't risk leaving my daughter alone in this world to save a man who hated her. I told Nathan I wasn't doing it. He stared at me and said, "You're really going to let me die because of some brat that isn't even mine?" I said yes. He called his parents immediately. They came over within the hour and brought half the family with them. Richard got in my face and said I was committing murder. Barbara said I was the most selfish person she'd ever met and that I'd burn in hell for this. Nathan stood behind them with this smug look like he'd finally gotten everyone to see what a terrible person I was. I told them about the cheating and the stealing and how he treated Zoe. Barbara said, "Boys make mistakes. That doesn't mean you let him die." Richard said, "If you loved him, you'd forgive him and save his life. That's what marriage means." Nathan's sister said, "You're using excuses to cover up the fact that you're just scared and selfish." I looked at Zoe sitting on the stairs listening to everything and realized I was teaching her what love looked like. I refused.